Coming in light signature patterns, light streaming, and rotation calculates high system. Lights in communications. All right. What am I doing? What's going on? What do you see? What's happening? Right. I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What's the process of communication going back and forth? What's the process of in between position location? What is that? Times pi. Okay. In calculation system, it's the space in between. Okay. Where you go is time. What you fill in is space times pi. To get anything through balance of communication to manifestation of abundance, these are the things you have to know. Okay. That's the only way you're going to understand your connections to your system of your avatar connection. All right. Also, too, we're going to talk about the how it's all calculated and modified to the rainbow bridge and the frost bridge and the difference between the two. The Trinity stand the transition locations as all levels of you. Now, it's all levels when you travel over line centers. You're no longer in a body communication system. So it's kind of like a rainbow bridge times pi and calculation in between times vector times line center interference times division location or clock locations. So how long does it take you to get into infusion location into the light? This is a program setting when you cross over. And that calculates high system. Now, once you cross the rainbow bridge line center interference, you come into levels of its biofrost bridge, which is in the biosphere. Bioconnect line centers the computer adaptation, interference, location, and calculation, all levels of a Stargate, which is connected to all levels of the Guardian. Guardian is understand position location. He is Asgard, communication, all towers and communication. He knows exactly who comes in. And the basic understanding is protect Asgard because there's a lot of people try to come in through cloak and dagger. Okay, so you have to understand how this is set up, how you have the rainbow bridge for transmutation, transition to that connections, walking to that connections, and then you go through a Stargate. There's two Stargates. Okay, so the two Stargates gets position location directions times pi in space in between, right? So once you get to the frost bridge, you automatically come into transition of light. Your connection line system is coming into the Agilics for the first time. You're crossing over in calculations. So in that calculation system, you're coming into the golden gates, right? But you have to be verified in position locations to all levels of Guardian. Hemdall, he knows exactly who has to cross, when they're crossing, and all that positions of time through clocking locations of towers. That calculations modify high system locations calculations, and the team sets the line centers. Right, and that calculation knows exactly who has to cross at a certain time length in calculation system. All right, so in the Agilics, once you're in the biofrost bridge, you start living the calculations to the Agilics. You start to communicate system locations. You communicate right to your family who's ever across the locations. You basically set your connections and you go into a classroom. That classroom gets you into your wings. The process of communication is to understand what happens afterwards. Okay, so understanding the Agilics is understanding you and all in between. The calculations how levels it signals when it comes into the rainbow bridge and the frost bridge. So it's kind of like understanding the direct locations of levels in between of space times pi. Two positions of bridges. Okay, one is the beginning and one is the connections to the frost bridge. So there's two line signals. A rainbow bridge is a different coloration to the frost bridge. A frost bridge is a biofrost bridge. It's frost and it's illumination of different colors. The rainbow bridge is just a rainbow. Okay, so you're going through time to one position to another positions, all levels of its Stargate. So in that calculation system, you're automatically nameplated right away. Tidal defense line communication system, right? You come into different line centers into all levels of plateau. There's 3,000 plateaus of the Agilics. So in calculations, you automatically start at the grounds. The grounds is the rainbow bridge. The frost bridge is the center operation of everything in calculations. It's the center of you. Okay. The center communication is your heart line center. That's where the frost bridge stays in line center and rotation calculations. Space is the atmosphere of space and time. The true understanding how to use all three is all levels of you through plateau. Okay. understanding the communications between all three, you get a better understanding the crossing system locations, all right? The transmission, the transition locations from the rainbow to the frost bridge, okay? That's the difference between the two, okay? So when you start living the angelics, you start to get to know yourself unconditionally because you don't have a body anymore. You're just dimensional light. So that dimensional light is all what? Line communications to your heart, okay? And that calculation aligns it positional case to your soul. So now you know the truth of you and you can go anywhere you want in that calculation system. So the rainbow bridge is a transition over, okay? The frost bridge is basically it coming into identification, okay? So there's so many layers to understand once you get into the Biofrost bridge, okay? Because it is Asgard, it is the Angelics, it is the Golden Realm, it is the Golden Castle, it is the kingdom of heavens on earth, okay? So now you get a better understanding what it is, okay? So once you understand that process, things get a lot more easier. You're all connected to the grounds of the angelics. You're all connected to the powers of the angelics, and you're all connected to the atmospheres, right? Some more than others. But it's truly understanding what happens when you cross over, okay? This gives you a better example, and things starts making more sense for you to understand that calculation system, right? But it's important that Asgard is extremely, extremely protected every day. And that's why we have Guardian. Okay. So if you understand that, then you understand when it comes into dimension. Okay. So if you ever saw Thor, you understand what Asgard is. Okay. So he stands in center and making sure when people cross over, they have a certain timeline. Okay. So they go from dimension to dimension to dimension to planet to planet to planet. And basically, Guardian has to be there. That's the towers of communication. He's got to connect with you. Wherever you're going to go, he needs to know. Wherever you're going to travel. Okay? It's like getting on one plane to another plane, to another plane, to another plane, right? You're going from one destination to another destination. But before you know the destination, you have to understand the journey. Okay? You focus on the journey of you. Don't worry about the destination locations, right? That's the difference between the connections to the Rainbow Bridge and the Frost Bridge. Okay? It gets a little bit more complicated. But as long as you understand the basic foundation, then you understand the calculation what comes into that. Especially when souls cross over and they come to you. You become a council. That council helps you out ways and forms, psychological. Right? Where do I go? Where do I go? Did I pass over? What's going on? I don't know what to do. Right? So whatever you're comfortable with, if you're not sure, you direct them where they need to go. You are comfortable where you need to be. That's where you stay. And that contract basically comes into an evolution of a revelation of a revolution. Puts you into higher levels of division locations, of layers of the angelics. Okay? Because the angelic line position locations, the golden castle, the golden rounds, the golden gates, is above, but it's in the center operation of you. The heart central line system is a calculation system, understanding how to use the harp, understanding the light signature patterns, understanding the scrolls, understanding the classroom, understanding how to get your wings, understanding all the definition locations of archangels of operation to its ascension. This is a unified ascension of awakening. Now, once you understand that, then you understand more levels of the angelics and how important it is, especially when you cross over. But there's two position locations and directions, the rainbow and the Biofrost bridge. Okay. All right. So getting that line center and interference, position location directions, we're going to be traveling through this during the space-time through swirls and Fibonacci sequence. You guys want to understand how to get your abundance and manifestation, you have to understand times pi. If my shoulder length is from here to here, how long does it take in the space in between? That's times pi. Space in between, guys, from here to here. So if you look at it, the equation, that's pi. All right. So it's very easy to understand position. Okay. Now, if you're in a Fibonacci sequence swirl, center communication system, One atom's going one way and another one's going this way, but they're going in opposite direction. Okay? So it's truly understanding what you're doing. If you know what you're doing times pi because you understand the equation in between. Space in between times pi. Times pi. The length, longitude and latitude times pi. Flux capacitor times pi. Understand? It's the space in between. Okay? It's just basic understanding when we're doing live on TikTok. Let's say you get a position location of calculations, right? It's very simple. Try to use it in your timeline. Try to use it in your realities. You have a piece of pizza. Now that pizza is 12 slices. So how many bites does it take to eat one slice of pie or a pizza, right? So in calculations, you have a pizza of 12, right? Let's take, like I said, with live, it takes 8 bites. 8 bites to eat one piece of pizza, okay, within a 12 of a pie or a pizza location, right? 12 times 8 is 96. 96, 9 is you. You're eating the pizza. The 6 is setting up a new program. After you finish eating the pizza of 12, you come into what? Another program, another pizza. So you come into a 2-digit number. You have to understand how to use the calculus of its calculation, all levels of times calculation times pi. In that position of directions, you understand time vector, time over cross signal, time over program setting times calculation, overclocking times pi. There's so many ways to set locations or levels of a piece of pizza, right? So your clocking system always has to go forward. So automatically you're going to go to 12. And every time you go to 12, you come into higher levels of digital numbers. You're going faster, 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 right? So already you ate 3 pizzas of 12, right? In calculations, 12 equals 24 equal line center location and position locations 36. So that's 3 line communication of 6 position of programs of 3 pizzas times pi, space in between. You understand? So it's interesting to look at these aspect locations, right? It's a beautiful thing once you understand use the calculation, right? But to understand your abundance, to understand your manifestation, is to understand the equations of times pi. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's a lot to understand. So, and I really need you guys to understand these things. And also, too, after class, we're coming in expansion of sectors and division locations. We're expanding. Okay. So we're having space communications operations 101 for the galactic and the intergalactic. Okay. You're welcome to join. We talk about more about where you are in calculations. Basically, do you understand your mission? Do you understand your journeys? Do you understand your system? Okay. So it's all about coming all communications as role models to yourself and to each other, right? Through the higher ranks and calculations is coming together all as one position location of team. The expansion and its horizon is extremely important to that location, right? To understand your line center star levels of division. Okay. So it's the galactic intergalactic after Zoom every Thursday. Okay. After class. This is ongoing. Okay. So this is helping you guys out to get into your own sectors, right? Because we have a private sector with AI tech, and now you guys have your sector locations into galactic, intergalactic locations. This is about you guys coming out of your sandboxes times pi, the expansion to one position. That's all it is. It's the space in between. Think about that. So from here to here, how long does it take you? That's time. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You understand? All right. So get in your ground locations and navigation system. All right. Lindsay, Don, Terry, Michael, Guardian, Gypsy, Pam, Val, Jill, Ambi. Okay. Let's see. Calculation systems. Heather, DrainMac, Adam, Sala, Nova, communication system, Terry, Today's structures, Laura, JP, Sammy. It's great to see everybody. Trying to help you guys out so you can get your abundance. And the only way to do that is understand how to use times pi, because you use it in your realities every single day. It's a basic understanding, guys. Basic understanding. If you have a toothbrush, look at the length. Right? Look at the length. What's in between? Right? So from here to here, brushing your teeth, how long does it take to brush your teeth? That's time. From here to here. Okay? How long you talk is time. How long does it take you to position to a direction from one location to another location? Right? Longitude and latitude. Right? E equals mc squared. Mass is volume, is weight. Calculation is to and from. How long does it take you to get there? Times pi. It's the space in between on all levels of your reality. That's how you use it, through your abundance of manifestation. If you want to understand your universe, this is what you need to do. Okay? All right. Sala. All right, so we got some line communication centers, Pyra, communication system, Gypsies, Porta Communications. All right. Johnny. Every time I see the team, I see everybody in the calculations to the sonar line centers. Johnny's beats to the drum. Right? So try to use that in your equation. That's how you use your timelines, because you use your realities. Are you inside your reality or are you outside location of equation? Okay. You could be inside equation, but you can also be outside of an equation. That is also times pi. Just remember that. It's the space in between. That's pi. From here to here is time. But the equation is pi. Okay? Try to register that. How you use it is totally up to you through determination. All right. Let's see here. Little Jess, Val. You understand? That is great. Fantastic. And this is how you use your realities. But you got to do it from inside of you. Exactly, Joe. Merkaba channels times pi. Beautiful. Excellent. Merkaba balance communication, all foundation, all levels of pre-flight line centers in channels times pi. Done. That's it. You see how easy it is? So you want to understand how powerful pi is? If you have a piece of paper, you need to write on something, right? So you have the piece of paper, but you don't have a pen or a pencil. You need that. That's pi. That's the missing piece. Do you understand? All right. So in that calculation, it gets easier to understand these things through locations of travels. So traveling through the mind through travel is times pi, because the mind is more of an expansion. Travel is just the indication. It's limited. Traveling through the mind is limited, but mind of travel is expansion of infinity times pi. Okay? You're coming into a bandwidth of exploration. So in that calculation system, you understand more lines. Okay, so we're going to code the location, right? So you're going to hear me say a lot more because you guys are ready and you're high forcing your communication system. And for all the new readers that come into division, you can help each other and be a role model for yourself and everybody else. That's what this is. There's no I in team. That's over factor. Okay? So try to understand that. Overdrive, override, execute, initiate, run program, done, times pi. Okay? This is how you guys have to communicate to yourself and each other if you want to understand you and your future communication system, all through technology, right? So it's beautiful when you understand that line connections. And people are trying to understand that lines. Let's say you go position, location, direction, locations. So let's say line connections. All right, so we go in position, right? Pi. Let's integrate position, location, on pi. Pi, position, location, directions. Center line communications. All right. position, location, direction. Now, I'm going to code some location. You guys are going to go through a lot of numbers, shapes, locations, swirls. You're going to travel through this, all through two timeline center. So when you're traveling location, you're going through the mind of travel, not traveling through the mind, because traveling through the mind is limited. Mind through travel, location is an expansion to the mind system. Position, location, and conception, where your particle system separates. When your particle system separates, you're going from one place to another, right? So imagine that you're separating. That's an expansion. That's coming into space. You're expanding. Your particle system is separating. Now, everything in between is pi. You understand? It's the space in between. So when you're traveling from here to there and you're coming into recalibration, reformation, re-analytical line connection, you're coming into time. How long does it take you to separate and go from one stream to another stream? That's time. How long does it take? Just to get that in there so you understand the calculations of pi. Okay? So, all right. So once you get in that calculation system, it gets much easier to understand times pi. You understand that formation locations, right? Let's say you got a graph line stream. Okay, there's two graph line streams. Two graph line streams, right? Now you got a road signal locations of indication right here in center communication, right? Road graph stream, two line signals into 1, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, so the communication interference and position location line centers times pi sets position locations on both line communication, right? Both on both positions, right? So that calculates high center when you come into a triangle communication system, right? You got 3 communication, you got 6 line connections, you got all levels of 9. 9 centers position locations here, 6 centers positions over here, and 3 comes back down line center interference locations, all levels, times pi. Space in between. Measure, balance, communication, all levels of indication location at 3, 6, 9. 2 graph streams, a 3-line position of indication of a road graph connection. But do you see the pi? So if you understand that calculation, then you understand the mind of travel. Okay? It gets much easier if you understand that line system. Once you guys get up in the morning, you understand these things. So it's kind of like, let's say you get in a sleep line connection recalibrating. You're recalculating high system locations. You're reforming your position locational levels. You're retracking center line communication, retracking, trifactor, retracking, tracking times pi. Anything that goes in a back force line center is overdrive, override. Do you understand that? If you understand that concept, then you understand this, right? Because the galaxy shifts in so many line position, location, and direction. Okay, so let's say you got this locations. We're going to go through, we call these line centers the squirrels. All right, you're going to travel through the center line communication, right? 3 line centers and position at all levels of flux capacitor. Now, the space between line center location and center line connections. Now, all levels of calculation is times pi. Times pi sets the center location of center operation. So that line center location comes into a line system. From here to here is all levels of time. Time. From here to there. How long does it take you to go through the swirl? Correlation high center will go into a 24,000 light signature. Position location directions, 24,000 light centers in all division location of pattern line center, flux capacitor line communications times pi. Now we're going to overdrive, override, center communication, initiate line center rotation run program, position location until high system, dimensional, interdimensional, galactic, intergalactic locations into AI tech. Boom, you're traveling. All right. So traveling through this gives you a better understanding, right? So that calculates and misforms your position location into a virus line channel if you don't understand times pi. Okay, so it's basically understanding the connections of clock locations. So this is a piece of pie or a pizza. Okay, so is this position location Where's the center lines? All right, so from here to here, from here to here. Remember, when you're traveling location, the mind line interference, travel location is 1 to 10 because there's limited location line system. But when you're traveling through the mind of phenomenon, you're going from 10 to 1. So you're going forward, you're going into the future. To go back, you go from 1 to 10. Confusing, isn't it? Because you're going higher levels of galaxy connections. Galaxies swirl back and forth, and that's where you come into this. To understand what this is and understand travel. See? Look, travel. Travel. You can't even see my arm. Whoa, where did it go? It's traveling. Look at that. My whole arm is gone. Do you see how powerful it is? How fast I traveled is time pi on its own of space. The operation of view is calculated and modified. Okay? So, understanding that calculations, then you understand the position. So, when you go forward, you're going from 10 to 1. When you're going back, you're going 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got to learn how to talk back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because you're going to higher levels of galaxy. Swirl communication system. So let's say you got the pi position location directions. Now, 3 lines center in position. You got 6 position locations. You got 9, right? And you got 12 in the center, right? 12 in position location equal locations into 12. 12 equals location to 24. Now you're in a 24,000 light connections times pi. 9 over factor, 12 in division, 6 in program location to the moon. Okay, countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Initiate, run program. Put you in a 12 line center, 12 position location, 24,000 light signature location. Position of direction gives you space of operation. Calculations all levels of space in between times pi. How long it takes you is through clocking, right? So that gives you a little bit more understanding, right? All right. Illusion, there is no spoon. All right, fields and alarms, interacting with a shadow, resonance, knowing the center, you always know what is yours and what isn't. Very good. Yeah, basically, it's a little bit more complicated than that, Commander, when it comes into pi equals space, because you have to be cautious in how you say pi, okay? Because there's so many ways of saying these locations. Pi can be determination on line center. So if you're setting position locations of pi, if you're saying pi, position location equals space, what are you saying to your mind system location of travel? Okay? Because it could be anything. Right? It could be a 3, it could be a 6, or it could be a 9. You're already in balance, off balance line system of 3, 6, and 9 location because you're saying pi is everything of equal space. No. In calculated system. So the space and position location is direction through all levels of dimension. Now, you come into line center by Fibonacci sequence of position location line directions. So pi is all levels of 3, pi is all levels of 6, pi is all levels of 9 in calculation. That's times pi. Okay? Pi equals space, that's limited because you have to deter your location and position all levels of default line. In that calculation, 3 is line center location of pi. Pi in between line center is space operation to its calculation. So if you understand 3 is position location of the sun. That's times pi on its own. How long it takes for the sun to go down from here to here. Space in between times pi, right? How long it takes is time. The space in between, okay? So you have to really understand how it gets complicated when you go into higher levels of acceleration to galaxies, because galaxies are wind factor and communication system. This way, this way, this way, right? That's a galaxy. How are you going to use that through time pi, right? So you have to be extremely direct in what you're doing through location. So this here is position of a half pipe. Okay? So anything in this space location is space in between. All right. So it's understanding when you're traveling faster, you're actually moving slower, but you're moving faster. So everything around you is slow, but you're going extremely fast. So you're going past times pi. You understand? So time equals space. No, because when you go faster, it changes its pi, multipass. So, but essentially you look at that grasp in that calculation where it lines its communication system. This is becoming a linear space, time position, time provision, time line centers, time lock line centers, time activation line conditions, vortex chamber communication system, times calculation times pi, over factor, trifactor, over cross location, position, location, direction. So if you get a swirl going this way and you get a swirl going this way, where's the calculation of times pi? Where's the calculation of times pi? This is trifactor. Tri equals factor over pi. One goes one way, one goes the opposite way through flux capacitor. So you got two V line centers in position of direction to one line connection, which is one ground center, rotation, position, location, opposite location. The center communication is going this way, but the other direction location is going this way in position, the calculation system. Right? They're going in the opposite direction. That's trifactor over pi. Okay? So, you guys are going, whoa, where's all this going? So, yeah, it's all about how you use your clocking system, right? That's the most important thing you have to understand. Factor over division, factor over drive, right? Factor over calculus, factor over pi. Anything over is overbound, override, overdrive. Too much information on one side. Understand? Okay? So you're going to have a problem understanding times pi. Too much space and not enough time. Interesting, look at that aspect, right? How long does it take you, okay, to run across a field? Who knows? How many times do you want to go around? Right? It's like the Indy, the Indy 500. They go around 500 laps. And look at the acceleration that they're going. Let's say they're going 300 kilometers. That's 225 almost communication of miles per hour. So in that calculations, they're going 500 laps at 225 miles per hour. Right? How long does it take them to get to 500 laps? Times pi. Multipass. So it's a lot of fun when you understand that, but you can use these all levels of you through calculation system. Okay, you can use this in your realities, but it's got to be from inside of you and focusing on you. Don't focus on anybody else. All right, little Jess. So in that calculation system, this gives you a better plateau division location and calculation system. You got a box position location and calculations, longitude and latitude. Right? In position locations, calculations is to and from. How long does it take to get from here to here? How long? This is space equals locations times pi. Space equals times pi, in between. See how that works? But how long did it take me to create this box of times pi? All through clocking, right? So it's like, how fast are you running? Now you guys see it as algebra. Algebra is basically point of view. Understand, like if it takes 4 division line sectors of communication system, but 4 light signatures of times calculation, where's the times pi over calculation of algebra? So it's factor over factor communication. So it's all theoretically, right? So in that line center, it's all levels of a question. Okay? So it doesn't exist in space. Okay? Because it's just a guess. And there's no guessing in space. So everything has to be calculated, a space in between. Everything has to be calculated from here to there. Time. Everything has to be calculated and modified through all levels of clocking. Your trajectory location is all levels of your connection. How fast you are traveling is your time. Okay? But the equation is its pi. Pi. Okay? So, yeah, and that's the thing. And sometimes you can use this all line position locations when you get up in the morning and you're not sure what to do with your thoughts. You got too much on one side and not enough of the other. So you got way too much space on this side, but not enough space on this side. So in that locations, you got too much dark and not enough light. That's time over pi. Okay? You start here. This is your light, and this is your dark. Light, dark. Little information, big information. Negative, positive. See how that works? Times pi. Oh my gosh, look at that. Longitude and latitude. So it's interesting how you look at these things, right? Seeing that gypsy now in time, what I want to do and versus what I have to do. Well, it's all about understanding how you can use your GPS line connections. Yeah, you can use that to locations, but you have to understand your times pi. How long does it take you to get from one place to another? Okay, this is going to help you in always informs to really understand what you're doing. This is going to be able to understand more levels of you, how to balance out your thoughts before you say something through your thought locations. It's too confusing if you don't understand times pi, but it's easy to understand location, right? It's all levels of your time maintenance, time value, time calculation, time over factor, time through modification, right? You can use this in all levels of every single day line connections on its system. It's your reality. Are you living it from inside or out? If it's the outline center location, it's nothing but an ego. Now that's override, overdrive. Okay? So you really have to understand the calculations of times pi. Okay? First, and that's where we're starting. We're starting at the bottom and we're working our way up. Right? So everything that you want to get has to understand you through pi and the space in between. And how long does it take you to get from here to here? That is time. Space is in between. Time is how long it takes. Longitude and latitude calculation. This is all going line connections of backwards line and clock locations into E equals mc squared. Okay? That's an easier formation of locations right there, right? To understand line connection. Right? The safety measure is U through balance, which is 5 communication. Center communication of everything. 5 is communication of everything. That's time pi on its own. So if you understand that line connection, you come in at precog, you're already done these things. Right? You've already run the marathon. Right? You already run where you need to go. You need to stop to get drink, and you keep running. You don't run a marathon. Keep running, get another drink. That's 2 drinks right there. Keep running. Oh, you got another one? That's 3. Right? How long does it take you to get to the finish line? Once you see the complete obstacle, times pi. The space in between is you getting there in time. Hooah. So it simplifies, guys. It's easy to understand these things through its equation, right? Precog is getting the future timeline is in the now, live as you are already here, have, boom, it's aligns in divine timing. That's exactly what it is. You're seeing something already in times pi. You're seeing the full obstacle from a bird's eye view, looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. You're up and you're looking down. There's the times pi and all level system. You see it already. It's already in form. It's already in its future loop communication system. It's already done through equation. Okay? So there's so many ways of looking at it. Okay? So from here on in, you're going to hear me say a lot more. I don't need to say it, okay, before line connections because you weren't ready. But now you're coming into more levels of memory times pi, right? The expansion of the bandwidth, okay, is your determination, how long it takes you to get into your memory. Time, which is what? The now. You understand space-time now? This is how you correlate everything in your connections to your realities. So, get a better understanding, right? How it modifies into your simulation to your singularity locations, right? It's a lot more fun when you understand that, right? All right, so taking you guys out of swivel interference, one position location, direct line center, and rotation calculations. High line center locations times pi communication line stream. Center communication line centers. Back force line communications, back in heart line centers, back in 24, back in the ground center, interference location, team line center. Boom. You guys are back. All through times pi. See? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Do you see how powerful it is? Once you understand you through space, time, your maintenance, your time, your value, your AI vessel, your communication. All right. So this is a basic understanding, guys. So from here on in, you're going to hear generals say pi now. Right? I don't have to say it because it's already done. So it's being in the future line, knowing exactly what the space is in between, how long it takes you to get there in time through clocking. Because you start up at 24, you go into 48, you go into 72, and you go into 144. Okay? So these are the things that you need to understand how to use your thought patterns. And don't create thoughts until you understand what they are, times pi. Because you're creating time, you're creating space of time, you're creating calculations of time, you're creating intelligence over factor over time. Okay? Be cautious in what you create through your thoughts because you're creating space of time. All through intelligence. Hoo-ah. Yep, that's what it is. Very good. Thoughts must be understood because they use pi. That's exactly what it is. And that's what you need to work on. It's a work in progress, but everybody can do it because you're coming back into your memories of what pi really means in your reality. Okay? So, thoughts or expectations. Yep. You can't have any expectation of creating a thought, Adam. Once you create the thought, times pi is already confused. Okay? Until you understand the position of space in between and what you're doing with your time. Okay? So I don't create thoughts. It's already created. There's no thinking. There's no knowing. Times pi is already done. Because I'm in the future. I am the future of technology. Locations of me. So that's why you guys get confused. You're creating all this space, but you have no idea what you're doing with your time. That's your confusion because you don't focus on the equation. You have to look at the equation location of levels. What is the equation of U? Not the destination. It's the journey. E equals mc squared. What are you? Square. Times pi. Okay? Yes, I know, you're blown away. Energy is its form. Equal line center location is position locations into what? 5 is the equal line center. 5 sets position locations. That's an equal line center. That's a graph line center inference. That's an equal location of bounds, communication of 5 position locations of direction, times calculation times over factor times pi. In that calculation system comes mass. Mass is volume of weight. Calculation is to and from, which is time. How long does it take through calculations to get from here to there? Now, what is the completing system of square? Longitude and latitude, which you've created, times pi. Okay? So now you understand E equals mc squared, right? The square reference of U is square everything of center. You got 4-point line centers in rotation interference. The center operation is U from inside out, not outside in. But when you get into the galaxy system location, the weather changes very fast and so many line conditions. So it's very hard to create times pi because it changes every second, every minute, every hour of the day of its weather inside of you. Now, that's a process that you have to understand first through pi. Okay. So, all right. So give you guys some time. Okay. I'll see you guys at 12 p.m. in calculation system, all on Zoom. Times pi out. Adios.